They say the dead don't breathe, but Junyong Park's chest rises and falls with the precision of Swiss clockwork, 12 breaths per minute, every minute, for 6 years. I've counted. He'd already been in this bed for a year before they hired me, so the nurses can claim the full 7. I just keep the daily tally. The living don't lie this still. Every morning I walk past his room and wonder if today's the day the expensive machines finally admit what his family won't, that keeping a body warm isn't the same as keeping a man alive. But the check's clear, the lawyers smile, and I dust around a ghost who costs more per day than I make in a month. The 647 bus smells like wet coats, and yesterday's regrets. I press my forehead against the window, watching the city thin out into coastal mansions where people have too many rooms and not enough lives to fill them. My uniform, the cheap polyester kind that pills after 3 washes, is folded in my lap, navy blue. They wanted black, but black costs extra, and Mrs. Park's secretary made it clear I'm a line item, not personnel. The house appears through morning fog like a ship that forgot how to sail. 3 stories of white stone and dark windows, perched on a cliff where the ocean throws itself against rocks with the kind of violence that sounds like ambition. Beautiful and furious and meaningless. I let myself in through the service entrance. The kitchen is mine until 8, when the physical therapist arrives to bend limbs that haven't volunteered to move in 7 years. I make tea I'll never drink, just to fill the silence with the sound of boiling water. My lunch tin sits on the counter, yesterday's curry, the turmeric stain on the plastic like a small sun. The smell makes the sterile house feel briefly human. Upstairs, the medical equipment hums its morning song. Junyong Park's room is all white and chrome, and machines that breathe for him, beep for him, measure the distance between alive and not, with green numbers that never waver. He lies in the center of it like a prince in a fairy tale, except no one's coming to wake him. 43 years old now, the newspapers say, when they bother to mention him at all. 36 when it happened. Car accident, traumatic brain injury, persistent vegetative state. I've read the words so many times they've lost meaning. "Morning, Mr. Park," I say, same as always. He doesn't answer. Same as always. But I talk anyway, because the silence in this house isn't peaceful, it's hungry. It swallows words, footsteps, the small evidences that life is happening. So I fill it. I tell him about the bus driver who says, "Morning like a question," about the seagull I saw eating a whole pizza slice, defiant and victorious, about the price of eggs, the weather, the neighbor's cat that sits on his garden wall like a small judge. I open the curtains, and gray light spills across expensive sheets that get changed every day, whether they're dirty or not. His face is smooth, younger than 43 should look after 7 years of nothing. No expression lines, no weather damage, no evidence he's lived at all, except for the scar along his hairline where they opened his skull to relieve the pressure. His hair is still black, cut weekly by a barber who makes house calls. Someone, his mother, probably insists on this, on the appearance of dignity. I start dusting. The room is always clean, but I clean it anyway. Routine is the architecture that holds this house together. Without it, we'd all have to admit what we're doing here. Keeping vigil over someone who's already gone, in a house that never wakes, waiting for a miracle that costs 6 figures a year. Outside, the ocean throws itself against the rocks. Inside, the machines breathe. And I polish silver picture frames that hold photographs of a man who used to smile. Mrs. Park arrives on Tuesdays. Not every Tuesday, that would suggest a pattern, a commitment, something resembling maternal devotion. She comes when guilt outweighs convenience, which lately means twice a month, sometimes less. I can always tell when she's been here by the lipstick shade on the coffee cup rim and the faint trail of Chanel No. 5 that lingers like an accusation. Today is Wednesday, and she came yesterday while I was running errands. I know, because she's rearranged the flowers in Junyong's room, moved them from the windowsill to the bedside table, as if he can see them, as if proximity to beauty might pull him back from wherever he's been for 7 years. The roses are expensive, Grocery store expensive. Not florist expensive. I recognize the plastic sleeve in the waste bin. Your mother was here, I tell him, while changing his sheets. The physical therapist, Linda, is Korean American, early 50s, with the tired eyes of someone who's seen too many bodies refuse to cooperate. She arrives at 8 sharp, smelling like coffee and the vanilla air freshener in her car. "Morning, Zara," she says, setting down her bag. "How's our guy today?" "Same as yesterday." "Same as last year." She nods. We have this exchange every morning. It's comforting in its predictability. I watch her work, bending his knees, rotating his shoulders, moving joints that have forgotten what movement feels like. She talks to him the whole time, explains what she's doing, like maybe he's in there somewhere, listening. I used to think it was performance, something they teach in physical therapy school. But I've seen her face when she thinks no one's watching. She believes, or wants to. His mother called me, Linda says, working on his right ankle. Asked if there's been any improvement. What did you tell her? What I always tell her. That we're maintaining range of motion, preventing contractures, keeping him comfortable. She pauses. She asked if we should stop the therapy. Said it might be time to reconsider the situation. The words hang in the air like smoke. I keep folding the old sheets, pressing hospital corners into fabric that costs more than my rent. What does that mean? It means the money's running out. The trust fund isn't infinite. The lawyers are getting creative with billing, but eventually, she doesn't finish. She doesn't have to. I look at Junyong. His face is peaceful, empty, like a house, with all the furniture moved out. Does he have anyone else? Besides his mother? Linda shakes her head. There was a fiancé, Ji-won. She visited every day for the first year, then every week, then every month. Then she stopped. Married someone else 2 years ago. I saw the announcement in the paper. I try to imagine loving someone enough to visit them every day, then loving yourself enough to stop. Both feel like acts of courage. His mother wants to move him to a long-term care facility, Linda continues. Cheaper. Medicaid will cover some of it once the private funds run out. She's touring places next month. I think about Junyong in a shared room with beige walls and fluorescent lights. No ocean. No one talking to him about seagulls and expensive eggs. Just warehoused breathing. The waiting room before the final exit. How long does he have? Here, I mean? Linda straightens, wipes her hands. 6 months. Maybe 8 if the lawyers are really creative. The house is paid for, but the medical expenses, the staff, the equipment, it adds up fast. After she leaves, I sit in the chair beside his bed. The expensive chair, leather and ergonomic, bought for visitors who don't visit. Your mother's giving up, I tell him. I don't blame her. 7 years is a long time to hope, and hope costs money. The machines beep their agreement. Outside, rain starts to fall, turning the ocean gray. I'm not supposed to work nights. My contract is clear. 7 to 3, Monday through Friday. Light housekeeping and companion care. But the night nurse called in sick, and Mrs. Park's secretary called me at 6 p.m. with that tone people use when they're not really asking. Just this once, Zara, we'll pay you extra. Extra means time and a half, which means my nephew's birthday present won't have to come from the clearance bin this year. So I said yes. The house feels different after dark. During the day, it's just empty. At night, it's haunted by the life it used to have. I walk through rooms that were designed for parties, for laughter, for the kind of casual wealth that doesn't count the cost of champagne. Now they're museums to a man who can't remember living here. I make myself dinner in the kitchen, leftover curry, reheated. The microwave beep sounds too loud. Upstairs, Junyong's monitors paint green shadows on the walls. I've pulled the armchair closer to his bed, brought a book I won't read, my phone charger, a blanket that smells like my apartment. The night stretches ahead like an ocean. Just you and me tonight, I say. He doesn't complain about the company. I scroll through my phone texts from my sister, asking if I can babysit this weekend. A bill reminder. A message from Marcus, asking if I want to get coffee. Marcus from church, with the kind eyes and the job at the post office. I've been avoiding his messages for 3 weeks because dating requires hope, and I'm running low. Around midnight, something changes. Not with Junyong, he's exactly the same, breathing his 12 breaths per minute, heart rate steady at 62. But I notice something I've never seen before. His left hand, the one closest to me, has a small scar across the knuckles, the kind you get from punching something stupid when you're young and angry. I reach out, touch it with one finger. His skin is warm, real. 7 years of medical care have kept him soft, unmarked, except for this one small piece of evidence that he used to make bad decisions. What did you hit? I asked the silence. A wall? Someone's face? Your own stupid pride? I start talking then. Really talking. Not about seagulls or the weather, but about me. About how I moved here 6 years ago, after my husband left. How I took this job, because it paid better than retail and required less smiling. About my sister who thinks I'm wasting my life taking care of a man who's already gone. About Marcus and his coffee invitations and how I'm afraid that if I say yes, I'll have to admit I want something more than this. You probably think I'm pathetic, I say, talking to someone who can't hear me, but you're the only person who doesn't expect anything back. No advice, no judgment, just listening. Or not listening. It amounts to the same thing. At 2 a.m., his monitor beeps differently. My heart stops. I lean forward, checking the screens. His oxygen saturation has dropped, not dangerously, but noticeably. 94%. It should be 98. I call the service line. The overnight doctor sounds annoyed, then concerned, then resigned. Probably just needs repositioning. Turn him on his right side. If it doesn't improve in 20 minutes, call me back. I've watched Linda do this 100 times, but doing it myself feels different. He's heavier than I expected. Dead weight in the most literal sense. I roll him carefully. Adjust the pillows. Make sure the tubes don't tangle. His oxygen climbs back to 97. I stay beside him, watching the numbers, my hand on his shoulder. You're okay, I whisper. You're okay. And I realize I'm not just talking to him. I find the box on a Saturday. Technically, I'm not scheduled weekends, but appraisers don't care about contracts and misses. Park pays overtime to keep strangers from touching Junyong's things. Mrs. Park asked me to clean out the study. Organize was the word she used, but we both know what she meant. The house is being appraised. Rooms are being measured for their selling potential. The study is full of Junyong's things. Books he'll never read again. Degrees he'll never use. A life interrupted mid-sentence. The box is in the bottom drawer of his desk, underneath tax returns from 2018. It's not hidden, exactly, but it's not displayed either. Just a shoebox, the kind that once held expensive sneakers, now holding photographs. I should probably leave it alone. This feels like privacy, like something he wouldn't want a stranger sorting through. But he's not here to stop me. I sit on the floor and open it. The first photo is Junyong, at maybe 25, arm around another young man, both of them drunk happy in front of what looks like a college bar. The second is a family portrait, his mother younger, his father still alive, Junyong in the middle, wearing a suit that doesn't quite fit and a smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. Then I find her. Ji-won, the fiancée Linda mentioned. She's in at least 30 photos, always laughing, always touching him, his arm, his shoulder, his face. In one, they're at the beach, her in a yellow sundress, him looking at her like she's the only person who's ever mattered. In another, they're cooking together, her flour dusted, him kissing her temple. I study her face. She's beautiful in that effortless way some women are, like she's never had to think about it. But there's something else there too, something careful in her eyes, like she's already bracing for loss. The engagement photo is professional. She's wearing white, he's wearing gray, and they both look like people who believe in forever. There's a date on the back, the 15th of August 2017. He had the accident, the 3rd of September 2017, 19 days before their wedding. I sit there on the study floor, holding a photograph of two people who had no idea their future was already cancelled. And I feel something crack open in my chest. Not pity, pity is too small for this. It's grief. For him. For her. For the life they almost had. I take the photo upstairs. I found this, I tell him, propping it on the bedside table where he'd see it if he could see anything. That's G1, right? Linda told me about her. She looks nice. Happy. You both do. The machines don't respond. She got married, I continue, because apparently I've decided to be cruel to a man who can't feel cruelty. 2 years after your accident. I looked her up online. Park G1. There aren't many with that exact name. She married a doctor. They have a little girl now. She posts on Instagram, sometimes mostly pictures of her kid, some of her garden. She looks happy. Different happy than in these photos, but still happy. I don't know why I'm telling him this. Maybe because someone should. Maybe because the truth is the only gift I can give him. I don't think she forgot you, I say quietly. I think she just remembered herself. That night, I dream about the wedding that never happened. G1 in white, walking down an aisle in an empty church. At the altar, there's just a hospital bed, machines beeping the wedding march. She lifts her veil, leans down to kiss him, and when she pulls back, she's crying. Not sad tears, relief tears. I'm sorry, she whispers. I'm so sorry, but I can't. And she walks back down the aisle, out of the church, into sunlight. I wake up at 3 a.m. in my own bed, heart racing. I text Marcus before I can change my mind. Coffee sounds good. When are you free? He responds immediately, like he's been awake too. Waiting. Tomorrow? 10 a.m.? I stare at the message for a long time before I type, see you there. Mr. Chen arrives in a BMW that costs more than I'll make in 5 years. He's Mrs. Park's attorney, the one who's been managing the situation, which is lawyer speak for figuring out how to shut down a life without looking like the villain. He's younger than I expected, maybe 40, with wire-rimmed glasses and the kind of suit that whispers money instead of shouting it. I let him in through the front door this time, not the service entrance. Mrs. Park insisted. Mrs. Park is running late, I tell him. She asked if you could wait in the study. He nods, but doesn't move toward the study. Instead, he looks around the foyer like he's appraising it, which he probably is. Everything in this house has a price tag now. How long have you worked here, miss? Williams. Zara Williams. 6 years. Long time. He adjusts his glasses. You must have known Mr. Park before the accident. No. I was hired after. For companion care. Ah. He says it like he's disappointed. Like he was hoping for stories. Something to humanize the line item he's trying to erase from a budget. And in your professional opinion, have you ever noticed any signs of awareness? Any response to stimuli? I think about lying, about inventing a hand squeeze, an eye flicker, some small miracle that might buy Junyong more time in this house by the ocean. No, I say instead. Nothing. He nods, makes a note on his phone. The neurologist's reports confirm the same. No higher brain function. No possibility of recovery. He pauses. I'm sure this is difficult. You've been caring for him for a long time. I dust his room and talk to him. I'm not saving his life. Still, attachment is natural. I want to tell him that attachment is too small a word for what happens when you spend 6 years watching someone not die. That you start to need them in the same way they need the machines, something steady to measure your days against. Proof that time is passing even when nothing changes. But Mr. Chen doesn't need my philosophy. Mrs. Park arrives 20 minutes later, smelling like expensive anxiety. She's dressed for the occasion, black suit, pearls, the armor of old money, trying to look dignified while making difficult decisions. They disappear into the study. I'm not supposed to listen, but the house is old and walls are thin and I've learned where to stand. The trust fund will be depleted by September, Mr. Chen says. We can stretch it to November if we eliminate non-essential expenses, but that's the absolute maximum. And the house? Mrs. Park's voice is tight. Worth approximately $4.2 million in the current market. Minus the outstanding mortgage and liens, you're looking at a net of 3.8. More than enough to cover long-term care at a state facility for the remainder of his natural life. How long does the neurologist estimate? With proper care? Another 10, possibly 15 years. The body is remarkably resilient when the mind checks out. Silence. Long enough that I wonder if they've discovered me. Then, Mrs. Park. And if we withdrew life support? My breath catches. I need to be very clear, Mr. Chen says carefully. Junyong is not on life support in the traditional sense. He breathes independently. His heart beats on its own. We're talking about nutrition and hydration. Removing the feeding tube. How long would it take? 7 to 14 days. He wouldn't feel pain. There's no consciousness to feel it. But I have to advise you, Mrs. Park, this would require court approval. A judge would need to rule on whether this aligns with what Junyong would have wanted. Did he ever express wishes about end-of-life care? He was 36 when this happened. Healthy. Why would he think about dying? Another silence. There's a middle option, Mr. Chen finally says. We transfer him to a state facility. Medicaid covers the basic care. You sell the house, establish a modest trust for any additional needs. He receives care indefinitely, and you're not shouldering the financial burden alone. He would hate it there. He doesn't know where he is. I know where he is. The words break something open. I hear her crying. The kind of crying that sounds like it's been held back for 7 years. He was supposed to take over the company, she says through tears. He was supposed to give me grandchildren. He was supposed to outlive me. That's how it works. That's the deal. I carried him for 9 months. I raised him. I loved him. And he's supposed to outlive me. Mr. Chen doesn't respond. What can he say? I move away from the door before they finish. Go upstairs to Junyong's room. His monitors paint their green light across his face. 12 breaths per minute. Heart rate, 62. The same numbers they've been for 7 years. Your mother's giving up, I tell him. She's trying not to, but she is. And I don't blame her. 7 years is a long time to love someone who can't love you back. I sit beside him, take his scarred hand in mine. I had coffee with Marcus yesterday, I continue. He's nice, funny. He told me about his job, his family, his dog that eats socks, normal life things. And I sat there thinking about how easy it would be to just say yes to normal, to stop coming here every day, to let you go. His hand is warm in mine. But here's the thing I keep thinking about. When your mother stops paying for this house, when they move you to some facility with beige walls and shared rooms, who's going to talk to you? Who's going to tell you about the seagulls and the price of eggs? Who's going to remember you're more than the machines keeping you alive? The ocean throws itself against the rocks. I will, I whisper. Even if I have to take 3 buses to get there. Even if it's stupid. Even if you never hear me. I don't cry. I haven't cried since my husband left. Since I learned that tears are just water. And water doesn't change anything. But I hold his hand until my shift ends. And I don't let go easily. Marcus asks me about my work on our 3rd coffee date. We're at the same cafe, same table by the window, same order, Americano for him, tea for me because coffee makes me anxious, and I'm already anxious enough. He's wearing a blue sweater that makes his eyes look kind, which is unfair because it means I'm noticing his eyes. You never talk about it, he says. Your job, just that you do home care. There's not much to tell. I clean, I sit, I talk to someone who doesn't talk back. Is it depressing? I consider the question. It's honest. The person I care for doesn't pretend to need me for anything other than what I actually do. There's something clean about that. Marcus stirs his coffee, thinking, my grandmother had Alzheimer's before she died. Toward the end, she didn't recognize anyone. My mom visited every day anyway, said it wasn't about whether grandma knew her. It was about my mom knowing herself the kind of daughter she wanted to be. I think about this all the way home. The next day, Mrs. Park is at the house when I arrive. She's in Junyong's room, sitting in the expensive leather chair, holding his hand the way I held it last week. She doesn't hear me come in. I don't know what to do, she's telling him. The money's running out. The house needs to be sold. Mr. Chen says we have until November, but that's optimistic. And I keep thinking, what would you want? Would you want me to bankrupt myself, keeping you in this room? Would you want to be warehoused in some facility? Would you want any of this? She wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. Your father would know what to do. He always knew. But he's gone, and you're gone, and I'm here alone trying to make impossible decisions. She laughs, bitter. The doctors said you might wake up. In the beginning, they said that. Might. Such a small word for such a big hope. I spent 2 years believing in might. Then I spent 3 years pretending to believe. Now I'm just tired. I should leave, give her privacy, but I can't move. I'm going to sell the house, she says quietly. I'm going to move you to a place where they can take care of you, and I'm going to visit when I can, and I'm going to try to forgive myself for failing you, because that's what this feels like. Like I'm your mother, and I'm supposed to fix this, and I can't. She kisses his forehead, stands, and sees me in the doorway. We look at each other for a long moment. I'm sorry, I say. I didn't mean to. It's fine. She straightens her jacket, rebuilds her composure like a wall. I was just leaving, but she pauses at the door. Zara, when they move him, would you be willing to visit? Not often, just sometimes. I'll pay for your time, your travel. You don't have to pay me. I do, because otherwise it's charity, and charity makes people resentful eventually. But if I pay you, it's a job, and you're good at your job. After she leaves, I sit with Junyong. Your mother loves you, I tell him. In case you were wondering, she's just tired of loving someone who can't love her back. I think about my husband, how he said the same thing before he left, that loving me was exhausting because I never let him in, never needed him, never broke down. I was too strong, he said, too independent, too much like a locked door. Maybe that's my problem, I tell Junyong. I'm good at showing up, not good at letting anyone show up for me. My phone buzzes. Dinner this Friday? Actual dinner, not coffee. I stare at the message. Dinner means something. Dinner means trying. I type, I'd like that. Then I tell Junyong, I'm going on a date, an actual date, with someone who's alive and conscious and capable of disappointment. Pray for me. Or don't. I guess you're doing the same amount of either. But I smile when I say it. And I think maybe that's progress. The hurricane warning comes on a Tuesday. Not a hurricane. Technically, the Weather Service calls it a significant coastal storm system, but the ocean doesn't care about technical language. It rises gray and furious, throwing itself against the cliffs with enough force to shake the house's foundations. Mrs. Park's secretary calls. We're evacuating Mr. Park to the hospital as a precaution. Can you stay with him until the transport arrives? The ambulance comes at noon. 2 EMTs who've done this before, who know how to transfer a body that can't help with the transfer. They're efficient, professional, careful. They strap him to the gurney like they're packing something fragile for shipping. You coming with? One of them asks me. I look at Mrs. Park's secretary on the phone screen. She nods. So I ride in the ambulance, holding the bag with Junyong's medications, his medical history printed on 14 pages, the small things that define a life reduced to documentation. The EMT in back with us keeps checking monitors, adjusting straps, making sure the portable ventilator is functioning, even though Junyong breathes fine on his own. How long's he been like this? He asks. 7 years. He whistles low. That's a long time. Yes? You family? No, I just work there. Huh. He studies me. That's dedication. I don't tell him it's not dedication. It's just easier to show up for someone who asks nothing of you than to show up for yourself. The hospital is chaos. The storm has knocked out power in 3 districts, and the ER is flooding with people who lost medication, oxygen machines, dialysis access. We're triaged to a corner of a hallway on the fourth floor, given a partition and a monitor, and a nurse who promises to check in every hour. I settle into the plastic chair beside his bed. Outside, the storm gets worse. Rain hammers the windows. The lights flicker but hold. Somewhere down the hall, someone's crying. Somewhere else, a monitor is alarming, frantic. First time you've left the house in 7 years, I tell Junyong. How does it feel? A nurse appears around the partition, young, exhausted. Her scrubs decorated with cartoon cats. You're with the TBI patient? Yes. Okay, I've got 6 other patients on this hall, so I need you to watch his monitor. If anything changes oxygen, heart rate, anything, you hit this button. She shows me a red call button. Someone will come. Probably not immediately, but someone will come. I understand. She starts to leave, then turns back. Is he your father? No. I just work for his family. Oh, she processes this. Well, he's lucky to have you here. After she leaves, I sit in the plastic chair and watch the numbers on the monitor. 12 breaths per minute. Heart rate, 62. The same numbers they've always been. Around 8 p.m., the storm peaks. The lights go out. Emergency generators kick in immediately, but for 10 seconds, we're in the dark. I grab Junyong's hand without thinking, and I realize I'm terrified, not of the storm, of losing him. This man I barely know, who's never spoken to me, who doesn't know I exist. The lights come back. I'm still holding his hand. I'm dating someone, I tell him, because apparently trauma makes me chatty. His name is Marcus. He's nice, steady, the kind of man who texts back and opens doors and asks about your day. I should be happy about this. I should be excited. The monitors beep, but I keep thinking, what if I'm only good at loving people who can't leave? My husband left, said I was too closed off, too independent, and maybe he was right. Maybe I keep choosing people who can't hurt me. A man who's been gone for 7 years. A man who'll never ask me for more than I can give. I wipe my eyes, angry at myself for crying. That's pathetic, right? Using you as practice for being a person? His hand is warm in mine. Marcus asked me to go away with him next month. A weekend at his family's cabin, meeting his sister, his nieces, real relationship things. And I said yes, but I'm terrified. Because what if I'm still that locked door? What if I show up and there's nothing inside worth finding? The storm howls outside. I think that's why I keep coming back to you. Because you never ask me to be more than I am. You don't need me to be whole, or healed, or ready. You just need me to show up and talk and change the sheets. And I'm so good at that. At doing without being. Around midnight, the storm breaks. The rain gentles. The wind drops. The crisis passes like it never happened. A different nurse appears, older, kinder eyes. We're moving him back to the mansion tomorrow morning. The coast road is clear. Your ride will be here at 8. Thank you. She pauses. You've been here all day. There's a family lounge on the 2nd floor. Couches, vending machines. You should rest. I'm fine here. She nods like she understands. Maybe she does. After she leaves, I lean my head back against the wall and close my eyes. I dream about Junyong waking up, about his eyes opening, his hand squeezing mine back, about him asking where he is, how long he's been asleep, what year it is, about me having to tell him, 7 years, your life is gone, everyone moved on. In the dream, he looks at me and says, but you stayed. And I say, that doesn't make me noble. That makes me scared. I wake up at dawn. Junyong is exactly the same. 12 breaths per minute. Heart rate, 62. I text Marcus. I can't wait for next month. Let's do something this weekend. Something normal. He responds immediately. How about mini golf? Very normal, very unstormy. I laugh. Actually laugh. There in the hospital hallway with the morning light creeping through the windows. Hear that? I tell Junyong. I'm going mini golfing. Like a person with a life. The machines don't judge. And somehow, that helps. Mrs. Park calls me on a Thursday. Not her secretary, which means something's wrong or something's changed. And in this house, those are usually the same thing. Zara, I need to discuss something with you. Can you come to my office tomorrow? Her office is in the city, 45 minutes by bus, in a building made of glass and steel, and the kind of quiet that costs money. The receptionist is expecting me, directs me to the 14th floor, where Mrs. Park's assistant offers me water I don't drink and a seat in a waiting room that overlooks the harbor. Mrs. Park appears exactly on time, dressed in a gray suit that probably costs more than my car. Thank you for coming, she says, gesturing me into her office. It's beautiful floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture, abstract art that probably means something to people who understand abstract art. There's a photo on her desk. Young Junyong, maybe 8, gap-toothed and grinning. She sits across from me, folds her hands. The house sold, she says. Faster than expected. The buyers want to close in 6 weeks, which means we need to move Junyong by mid-August. Okay, I've found a facility. It's clean, well-staffed, Medicaid-approved. He'll have a private room, full-time nursing care. It's not the mansion, but it's dignified. I nod, waiting. Here's what I'm proposing. I'd like to hire you to continue as his companion. Not full-time, the facility has staff for medical care, but 3 days a week, 2 hours per visit. You'd talk to him, read to him, maintain continuity. I'll pay you the same hourly rate you're making now, plus mileage. I do the math in my head. 3 days, 2 hours. That's 6 hours a week. Compared to my current 30, it's a significant reduction in income. Mrs. Park sees me calculating. I know it's less than what you're making, but I'm also aware you've been looking for additional work. This would give you the flexibility to take on other clients. How did you know I was looking for other work? Your supervisor at the agency mentioned it. I called for a reference, thinking ahead to Junyong's new facility. She said you're one of her best workers, that clients request you specifically. I sit back in the expensive chair, processing. Why me, I ask. Why not just let the facility staff handle everything? Mrs. Park is quiet for a long moment. When she speaks, her voice is softer than I've ever heard it. Because in 7 years, you're the only person who's talked to my son like he's still a person. The nurses do their job. The therapists do their exercises. But you tell him about seagulls and eggs and bus drivers. You treat him like he matters, not because you're paid to, but because you've decided to. My throat tightens. I can't save him, she continues. I can't bring him back, but I can make sure someone remembers who he was. And for some reason, you do that, even though you never knew him. I think about all the mornings I've stood in that room, talking to someone who never responds, about how it started as a job and became something else, something I don't have a word for. I'll need to think about it, I say. Of course. Take your time. I'll need an answer by the end of next week. I stand to leave, then pause. Mrs. Park, can I ask you something? Yes. Do you ever wish you'd let him go? In the beginning. I mean, when the doctors first said there was no hope. She doesn't flinch. Every single day. And every single day, I'm grateful I didn't. Because hope isn't about believing he'll wake up. Hope is about believing that love still matters, even when it's not returned. That caring for him honors the 36 years he was fully alive. She pauses. Does that make sense? Yes, I say quietly. It does. That night, I tell Marcus about the offer. We're at his apartment, a small one-bedroom that smells like coffee and old books, with a dog named Roger who keeps trying to sit on my lap despite weighing 60 pounds. Marcus is cooking pasta, something simple with garlic and olive oil, and I'm sitting at his kitchen table feeling more at home than I've felt anywhere in years. So, what are you going to do? He asks, stirring the pan. I don't know. The money's less. But I can't imagine just walking away. Why not? The question isn't cruel. It's genuine. Marcus has this way of asking things that makes you actually answer instead of deflecting. Because someone should care. Because he's alone. Because I stop, trying to find the right words, because I think I need him as much as he needs me. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. He plates the pasta, sets it in front of me. My mom used to say that the people we choose to care for tell us who we are, not the people we're obligated to love. The ones we choose. I take a bite. It's delicious, simple and perfect. What if I'm choosing him because it's safe? Because he can't disappoint me or leave me or ask for more than I can give? Marcus sits across from me, takes my hand. Or, what if you're choosing him because you're a good person who sees someone in need and can't walk away? What if it's not about fear, it's about character? I look at him, this kind man, with his patient eyes, and his 60-pound dog and his simple pasta. I'm a mess, I tell him. Everyone's a mess. You're just honest about it. I laugh, and it feels like something loosening in my chest. I'm going to say yes, I tell him, to Mrs. Park's offer, and to you, to this, whatever this is. This is me making pasta, and you pretending to like it, even though I definitely overcooked the noodles. The noodles are perfect. You're a terrible liar. I know. He kisses me then, and it's gentle and hopeful and terrifying. And for the first time in 7 years, I think maybe I'm ready to try. The house is full of people, movers, boxing up medical equipment. The new physical therapist from the facility doing an intake assessment, Mrs. Park's assistant coordinating logistics with the efficiency of a military operation. I stay out of the way, dusting things that don't need dusting, straightening things that are already straight. Junyong is being moved last. I've spent the morning packing his personal items into 3 boxes. Clothes he'll never wear, books he'll never read, the shoebox of photographs I found in the study. Mrs. Park asked me to keep the engagement photo on his bedside table at the new facility. Just that one, she said. The rest can go to storage. The movers arrive at 2 p.m. They're the same crew that handled the furniture, but they're gentler with Junyong. They understand they're transporting a person, not a thing. They stabilize the gurney, secure the monitors, double-check every connection. Ready? The lead mover asks me. I'm not, but I nod anyway. I ride in the medical transport van, sitting beside Junyong as we drive away from the house that's been his home for 7 years. Through the window, I watch the ocean disappear behind us, replaced by highways and strip malls and the ordinary landscape of normal life. The facility is in a suburb 40 minutes inland. It's exactly what Mrs. Park promised. Clean, well-staffed, dignified, but it's also institutional in a way the mansion never was. Fluorescent lights instead of natural sun, linoleum instead of hardwood, the smell of industrial cleaner instead of ocean salt. His room is on the 2nd floor, at the end of a quiet hallway. It's private, which is more than most residents get. There's a window that looks out onto a courtyard with a fountain. The walls are pale blue. The medical equipment is newer than what he had at the house. But it's not home. The staff is kind. They help transfer him to the new bed, reconnect the monitors, adjust the settings. A nurse named Patricia introduces herself, explains the schedule, assures me they'll take excellent care of him. You're welcome to visit any time during visiting hours, she says. 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. After everyone leaves, I sit in the chair beside his bed, a different chair, generic and uncomfortable, and look at him in this new space. So this is it, I say. Your new place. It's not the ocean, but there's a fountain. You can't see it from here, but you can probably hear it if they open the window. It's something. The monitors beep their familiar rhythm. I pull out the engagement photo, set it on the bedside table where he'd see it if he could see anything. G1, I tell him. Remember her? She's happy now. Married. Has a daughter. I looked at her Instagram last week. The daughter looks like her. Same smile. She posted a video of the kid's 3rd birthday party. Frozen theme. Lots of blue frosting and chaos. I trace the edge of the photo frame. I think she loved you. Really loved you. But she also loved herself enough to leave. I don't think those things contradict each other. I think they're both true at the same time. I take his hand, the one with the scar across the knuckles. I'm going to keep visiting. 3 days a week, Mrs. Park and I agreed. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays. I'll tell you about my week, about Marcus and his ridiculous dog, about whatever seagull drama I witness. You won't answer, but you never answered before, so that's consistent. The late afternoon sun slants through the window, painting golden squares on the linoleum floor. I need to tell you something, I say quietly. I started this job 6 years ago because I needed money, and you needed someone to dust around you. But somewhere along the way, it became more than that. You became my excuse not to try, not to risk, not to let anyone close. Because if I was busy caring for you, I didn't have to care for myself. I wipe my eyes. But I'm trying now. With Marcus. With life. And I think I need to thank you for that. Because spending all this time with someone who can't leave taught me what it feels like to show up consistently. And maybe that's the foundation for everything else. Maybe I needed to learn to be present with you before I could be present with someone who's actually here. I stand, lean over, kiss his forehead. So thank you for being my practice person, for teaching me that love doesn't always look like passion or fireworks. Sometimes it looks like showing up on a Tuesday morning and talking about eggs. I gather my things, my bag, my coat, the empty boxes I brought. At the door, I turn back. See you Thursday, I tell him. And I mean it. Outside, Marcus is waiting in the parking lot, leaning against his car. He drove me here, said he'd wait, no matter how long it took. How are you? He asks when I reach him. I'm okay. Sad, but okay. He pulls me into a hug, and I let him. I let myself be held. Let myself feel the grief of ending one thing and the terror of starting another. Want to get ice cream? He asks into my hair. Yes. Want to tell me about him? Really tell me? I pull back. Look at this man who's choosing to care about me despite or maybe because of my complications. Yes, I say again. And we drive to a place that serves soft serve in waffle cones, and I tell Marcus about Junyong Park, about the man who spent 7 years sleeping through his own life, about his mother who loved him enough to let him go, about Ji-won who loved him enough to leave, about me, who loved him in the only way I knew how, by showing up. That's beautiful, Marcus says when I finish. It's sad. Those aren't mutually exclusive. We sit in his car, eating melting ice cream, watching the sun set over a suburb that looks nothing like the ocean. I'm going to mess this up, I tell him. Us. I'm going to be bad at it. Probably. I'm going to mess it up too. That's what people do. And that doesn't scare you? He thinks about it. It scares me less than not trying. I lean against his shoulder, and he puts his arm around me, and we sit there until the ice cream is gone and the sky is dark. And for the first time in 7 years, I feel like I'm waking up. Not from a coma or a tragedy or a life interrupted, just from the small, comfortable sleep of someone who forgot they were allowed to want more. I'll visit Junyong on Thursday, but tonight, I'm here, and that's enough.